Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, mothers, fathers, daughters, sons, brothers, and sisters. Welcome to Norfolk's finest, or to say it in local lingo, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to go over Snetterton. What a beautiful touring cars doing their thing. I am partly from Norfolk, so I can get away with saying that. My name is Chris Buxton. I'm one of your commentators for tonight's festivities. We are back with the VCO touring car series. We are at Snetterton. Now, this has been a bit of a bone of contention in the commentary box, and I shall explain for you for why. I love this circuit. My co-commentator here, Mr. Newman, doesn't. But to bring him into the box, Alex Newman, great to be alongside you once again, even if you have the wrong opinion of this circuit.
I don't know what just happened in that past 30 seconds, but I'm not that surprised that you've already insulted my opinion. But I'm not a fan of the circuit. I know some people aren't. It's a Marmite track. Everyone has their own opinions.
That
so
I will admit.
Get
yes.
that, Chris.
Yeah. No two ways about it. No two ways about that.
But I think there are some corners that are brilliant on this track. It's good for touring cars and other racing series that probably aren't as quick as GT. I'm very used to a circuit course of competition for cars like that around this track, which is quite challenging to say the least.
Mm-hmm.
And a certain what's it called, league, LFM does explain it quite well as being the Tesco car park. So I've just probably offended you, Chris, but
I will warn you, ladies and gentlemen, this is going to go on all night. You know, we are likely to bat each other, insults at each other's opinion all night long. It is a very divisive circuit. That is absolutely true. But whilst we have the schedule on the screen, we're over halfway in the season. Now, we had Croft last time out. And again, as every race we've had in this series, it was a superb night's racing. For those that haven't been with us leading up to now, where have you been? You've missed some brilliant racing. We have 3 races lined up for tonight, as we do on every single occasion. The qualifying should be drawing to a close fairly soon, which we will have the results of, or we will have the results of. Now, who has polled it this time? Daniel Cowley. He has really been coming along in certainly the second half of this season. Thomas Moll, we saw him last time out in Croft as well. Dan Hurlock, current championship leader, in third. Matt Richards, he's done some good things in that Vapor Shield Civic. He lines up on row 2. Tom O'Leary and Scott Mitchell-Malm, again another new name to the series last time out, is on row 3. Cameron Brewster, superb effort for Dre Racing, on row 4, alongside Callum Wilson. So Jack Nichols and Callum Cripps will round out row 5. Row 6, Mitch Marie and Jakub Kowalski. Again, another, I think Jacob joined us fairly recently as well. Cedar Via, Tom Hackett on row 7, Chris Shepherd and Gianmarco Fiducci. Whoa, okay. Did not expect to see Gianmarco Fiducci on row 8. But then, if I remember rightly, he didn't qualify particularly well for the first race in Croft and did take 2 wins from last time out festivities. Matt Allington and Phil Morby have row 9, and Ben Willis and Jeff Fournier round out row 10. We have a lot of cars. 28 took to qualify. Jordan Richardson, again, he had a really up and down line. He was doing really well, but did not have the results to back up his amazing efforts last time out of Croft, with Matthew Lee joining him in row 11, Bruno Reno and Oliver Rogers row 12, Stephen McCready and Alan Smith row 13, and Ty Cuthbert and Max Spooner at the tail end of the field in the quarter mass motorsport cars. So a lot of people to be talking about, a lot of exciting action. Snetterton is not very wide. That's one thing to bear in mind. Now, Croft had its opportunities. It's very twisty. You do have a bit more right foot going on at Snetterton. The thing is, though, it is a very difficult circuit in a number of ways. There are 2 corners in particular that even I would admit I find difficult from a sim racing perspective. That is the Brundle-Nelson chicane, which is along the end of the Bentley Straight, and the Murray's turn, which is the final turn of the lap. The reason why I find those 2 difficult is for the same reason. You're braking and turning at the same time, and cars don't tend to like that an awful lot.
You would not be wrong there. Sorry, I just completely zoned out for a second. But Brundle and Nelson.
It's because I was talking nicely about Snetterton, be honest.
You're not right there too. Brundle and Nelson is a corner that, yeah, it's definitely going to be a tiny bit more interesting to see from a touring car perspective, because I've only really seen it from a GT perspective and an F1 perspective because I'm weird. But stuff like that, braking and obviously accelerating at the same time, does give you more sideways action, which we already see quite a bit of, especially in those BMWs. But again, it's a really good way to get rotation into a corner, especially with Murray's as well, being quite an off-cambered corner as well, if I believe so correctly. And it's quite unforgiving when it comes to runoff areas as well, like most of this track, because I don't actually see any runoff areas from the track pan so far, with quite an interesting surprise on this track pan.
It's very bumpy when you go lawn mowing as well. So a lot for our drivers to have to contend with, along with the tyre allocation. Now, introduced last time out of Croft, we are now running 3 compounds of tyre, not the customary 2 that we were running in the first half of the season. So it's a medium, a hard, and a soft tyre compound. All 3 of these compounds must be run in the course of the night. So there aren't any tyre changes that go on, but one race must have the soft, one race must have the medium, and one race has to have the hard, and the drivers must decide this before the event begins. So we have been given the tyre allocations leading into tonight's event. So looks like most of the soft tyres are happening, well, looks like races 2 and 3, where most of the option tyres is being run. Certainly a very heavy contingent of the hard tyre is actually opting for this event. So the first race of the night, which the grid of which we have just seen, the grid for race 2 is decided by the finishing results of race 1, and the grid for race 3 is decided from the race results of race 2, except a random amount of the top 12 will be reversed. And how many of those top 12 get reversed will be decided before we go into race 3, which we will cover a little bit later on. Okay, so what can we look forward to tonight? Well, first thing we can look forward to is the fact that me and Alex are going to probably argue all night about the merits of the circuit. The irony is we've been kind of arguing about Snetterton all season. It is not likely to change as the grid now begin to form. I want to talk about Daniel Kell starting in pole. So Dan Kell had a fairly okay-ish start. He got a podium in Silverstone. Wasn't with us in Thruxton. Got another podium in Donington. We didn't see him at Oulton Park, and then again had a really good run, but didn't quite get the results that I think his pace would have dictated last time out. So we now have got the rolling lap going on. But Dan Kell starting ahead of our current championship leader, Dan Herlock, along with Mould as well. So, yeah, again, we didn't know what to expect of our newcomers last time out. And, yeah, they didn't disappoint, and they haven't done again.
Daniel Kell is probably a driver I'm rooting for at the moment. He's just showing quite good potential. Obviously, with, I believe, what was the bot change earlier in the season, has brought quite a diverse podium places now. So you do see those Fords, you see the Hyundai sometimes as well. Especially, I think we saw the Vauxhall get into the top 10, which we've never seen before on this season anyway. So it's definitely bringing closer racing, obviously, and it's making it a tiny bit more fair as well for those cars, especially the cars that aren't the BMWs, which do seem to be struggling a tiny bit, even though we do see Daniel Herlock in P3 trying to extend his championship title so far. Daniel Kell obviously being in that Ford, the highest scoring Ford obviously as well, the Hyundai as well behind, who hasn't had the best of luck so far, the Hyundai. I'm not sure which team it was, but going on into Oulton Park, saw quite a few incidents from the Hyundai, either from just taking themselves out or taking other cars out, which is very, very unfortunate, obviously. And hopefully going to see some good results from that car in particular. Gianmarco Fiducci then, I believe he said something about not wanting to qualify. So I'm starting to think this is more intentional than anything. which would make it more interesting.
It's a bold move, if that's what. But then he either did the same thing last time at Croft, or he struggled a bit in qualifying at Croft because he didn't start race 1 as well as you might think he would, and still took the race 1 and 3 wins. So it'll be interesting to see where the Italian fights his way through, but he's got a lot of very, very fast drivers ahead. Again, Tom Mole starting on the front row, didn't finish any of the 3 races last time out at Croft, but he really made his mark last time out at Croft. So again, we didn't know anything about the team or anything about himself because, like I said, just joined us, and then suddenly was really mixing it with some very heavy hitters. Sadly, Croft really took its toll last time out. So the field now starts to work their way through to the grid. But look at that. Ford, Hyundai, BMW, Honda. Your top 4. Superb.
Does seem now they're lining up to go green here. 12 laps for the first race here, going to be from qualification order. Obviously, as we see, Daniel Cal will be taking pole position, followed then by Thomas Mould, following it out by then Daniel Hurlock as well in that BMW 3 Series. Just waiting for the horns to go, that you will hear very shortly. We get the picture-in-picture to see the start here as we go green here. With see Daniel Hurlock already getting quite a good start. They're going side by side already with Thomas Mould. He has the outside line, which is going to be great for him going into Richie's. Obviously, from the formation of the grid, we already see now Daniel Kell actually starting to make a tiny bit of a gap for himself. Brilliant reaction there from him going then into turn 2 of Montreal. Now it does seem they're just going to break a tiny bit later there, almost taking out Daniel Kell there, but still going to go side by side there with the Hyundais. We do see now Thomas Mould going for the inside line there, going on into the next corner of Agostoni.
Superb start from the BMW, but then the traction from the Hyundai really took as there's someone's flirting with the grass. That's going to give an opportunity there for Dan Hurlock on the inside of Agostini. Can he get it done? Can he get the big old beamer rotated? He can. That is second after the championship leader, and then Richards is following through in the Honda. So that is 2 positions lost for Mould. He's not going to get the inside line for Hamilton. Nothing he can do there. Now Oggie's all flirting with the grass again, but they do manage to keep themselves pointing in the right direction. So Dan Cal, superb start, has already got himself 1.5 second lead. Oh, bit of a slide there from Matt Richards in that Vapor Shield Civic, trying to get through Williams onto the Bentley straight now, coming down towards one of my most dreaded corners in sim racing, as mentioned, the Brundle and Nelson combination. Brundle the left-hander, Nelson the right. You're braking, you're turning, and trying to get the right position, go a little bit too deep. There's a curve there to kill you. That's the cameraman that's been killed by Dan Hurlock. So as the BMW went a little bit too wide, got very squiggly, I didn't see a spin, so assumingly he's still pointing in the right direction. He is, but Dan Cal is loving this. Nearly 2 seconds to go before the end of lap 1.
It does seem Daniel Kell is on those medium tyres, so we will have a bit more of an advantage than some of them in terms of grip, but obviously that will fall off not as quickly as we will see with those soft tyres, but only 5 people have selected those soft tyres for race 1 here. Back on board now with what is going to be Richard Shear getting a tiny bit of pressure from behind from Daniel Hurlock in the BMW 3 Series. Just 5 tenths between the 2 drivers as we go down into Montreal for the second time here for tonight. Looks like we're going to see Thomas Mould going for a tiny bit of an optimistic move, trying to go for a bit of a lunge going into Montreal. Having the inside line on one of the Richard Code's BMW, he still goes side by side, not going to be able to get the exit speed he would have liked as we go in. It does seem he's got the move done though going in to Agostoni, but we do see there might be retaliation here from Thomas O'Leary, the Richard Coe car, but there's a bit of blocking there, so that could be a steward's quotation, if I would say the like.
That was robust defending there from Tom Mould, but can he fend off the mighty Richard Co BMW? And then it is his stablemate Mitchell Malm not far behind. So it was a good start for Tom Mould, not able to keep pace at the moment. That's a very big shunt for Tom O'Leary. He's gone round. That was Mitch Malm that went into the back of the BMW, and he's just going to have to wait for that opportunity to arise. Puts him right the way down to 19th position. Oh, that's a shame. You never want to see him. It's tiny misjudgment there from the number 22. It was the stand-in for Jack Nichols, I think it is. On board then with Mitch Marie. They're coming towards Brundle and Nelson. Climbs up into 6th position ahead of Nichols, who's disappeared from the tower entirely. So there's a bit of a problem there for Jack Nichols. Not entirely certain No, he's then reappeared in ninth. So the tower is misbehaving. But Mitch Marie up into 6th position on the back of Mitchell Malm. That is going to be superb effort there. So Scott Mitchell Malm is the one up into 4th position. There's Cedo. Is that Cedo Via? No, that's the other. That's one of the other Brabham esports cars that is up into
I think that is Cedo.
Is it Cedo? It is Cedo Via. Beg your pardon. Yes, up into 11th. Then as Jack Nichols has a look on the inside line coming up towards Richie's once again. Can't get the move done on the treble 4 of Callum Wilson. So as we always have in touring car racing, lots of action throughout the field. Just see Gianmarco Fiducci, he's only gone up 2 positions in these last couple of laps. So, well, if he's hoping reverse grid pole, he's doing it on the wrong race. He needs to do that on race 2.
Exactly that, and obviously he's kind of risking the championship of this race as well. Obviously he's trying to win that championship. It's just, again, an ideal situation for anybody in this series to win that championship. Obviously he is one of the championship contenders here, but we do see side-by-side action now, and that looks to be Brewster, I believe, and probably Hackett as well, going on into this corner complex. Now we do see though it's going to be Jack Nicholas just trying to catch back up, and that's going to be again a tiny bit of contact there. That's going to be one of the Fords. That is going to be Mitch Marie, unfortunately spinning around, and I believe he might have taken the curb a bit wrong there. The sausage curbs can be brutal here, unless he did unfortunately have a bit of a collision with one of the other drivers.
I have rearranged many a virtual car on those sausage curves. They are absolutely lethal. I thought that was Dan Keller, the right colour scheme with the wrong Calamity Ford. So Dan Keller does still lead the way. That gap has come down to just around 1.3, 1.2 seconds, something in that kind of region. It was nearly 2 seconds earlier on. We'll continue to watch Cedo Via now inside the top 10 for Brabham Esports, the number 2 car. So he has got the 29 of Jack Nichols. 29 and 22, I swear, are wearing each other's numbers, because I've got 29 as Scott Mitchell Malm, so I will get those two the wrong way around more than once. Doesn't really matter. We know who they are, as that's Callum Wilson under pressure then from Jack Nichols. Oh, blimey, the BMW forcing his opponent to the outside line, coming up towards Richie's. Can the Ford hang on? Not likely around there, but he's keeping his foot in it nonetheless. He's going to force him to the outside line of the Wilson hairpin. No, he bows out of that one. You're never going to do an outside maneuver around the Wilson hairpin. It's not going to work. But they are chasing Brewster as well, who's having a pretty good run for Drake Racing. So I think he's one of the lead runners on the hard tyre is Cameron Brewster. I have to look through who's on which tyres through our allocation. Callum Wilson having a look on the inside line, coming down towards Agostini. Gets the nose alongside the Drake Racing number 39. Can't get the traction though, as Cameron Brewster hangs on to 7th.
Brilliant racing so far. Rich co-cars just look so iconic now coming into this race series. Just a beautiful livery again, but we do see now he's still trying to put pressure on Brewster here. Again, this series and this track in particular is quite difficult to overtake, but it does seem now Callum Wilson's trying to make his opportunity to pounce and wasn't able to get the exit speed he would have probably liked. But we also see the picture-in-picture from behind of what is going to be Nicholas, who is looking to try and collect any scraps from this battle as we go into one of the hardest corners here, the Brundle and Nelson chicane here. We do see now Callum Wilson still going side by side with Brewster here. Is he actually going to be able to get it done going into the final few corners of Coram and Mauricio? It does look like he got that done pretty easily there. I'm starting to think Brewster might have let him go there, because obviously what we have seen already about 2 times, unfortunately, just again intense battling will lead to quite easy mistakes, and it's just going to lead to damage to both parties.
Potentially so. The picture-in-picture was still Jack Nichols, now on the back of Cameron Brewster. So yeah, the BMW did manage to make his way fairly easily, as now Jack Nichols has a look on the inside, doesn't commit to it. You can make a move into Richie's. You've got to do it very, very early though. You can't leave it that late, because it is such a fast right-hander. So now up into the Wilson hairpin once again, and very, very close. No impact between the three, or not that we can immediately see on the cameras. Dan Kell still leads from Richards, for the Matt Richards Vapor Shield Civic in second, with Dan Herlock in the BMW in third. Now those three are on the medium tyres. Tom Mould is actually on the hard tyres. He's just lost that particular position. We did see that group go through the camera. There they are. So Tom Mould is he's actually, is he back up into 4th? So That's Mitchell Malm that I think has gone to the back of this particular trio, and that's someone that's had a lag moment there. That's what suddenly caused someone to skew off the road. There they go. So they didn't try and cut the corner. That is an unfortunate problem with sim racing. If you lag, you will just vanish. But Tom Mould then is, I think that's Hackett either giving the position back, which is possible, they are teammates, or Tom Mould getting up into that position. We'll have to see. But at the moment, Mould is behind Hackett, I beg your pardon. So the tower is correct in that one. So it was Mould conceding the position to Tom Hackett, it would seem. It does look like Tom Hackett's got some pace to use. That's why Tom Hackett's on the soft tyres, so that will be coordinated between the two. There's no point Tom Mould trying to keep his teammate behind when he'll just ruin his teammate's tyre advantage. 5 laps done, and we're fast approaching halfway in this first race.
Approaching the halfway mark now, we do see now P1 has just been able to gap the field quite nicely so far. 2.2 seconds between Daniel Kell and Daniel Herlock there, as we can see in the front. But going back on board with the 2X cars here, obviously, as Chris just mentioned, the front one being on the soft tyres, so being able to gap there. But we will start seeing a fall off of those soft tyres with the only 5 people who are actually using the soft tyres, so we will start seeing the drop off in tyre performance quite shortly. Thomas Mulder just trying to create a gap between him and Mitchell Malm there. Obviously, that is going to be another competitor behind him. But again, he kind of wants to create a tiny bit of a gap between him and his teammate, because his teammate, currently Hackett, in the X-Kart livery in front with just a tiny bit more of a gap, is going to be the more beneficial one to try and defend from. So far, obviously, being on the soft tyres, he is going to be quite vulnerable coming to the end of the race. But so far, he is going to be whizzing. But we also do see a new car coming into play. It's going to be Wilson, who unfortunately had the moment earlier into the race, but being able to gain up. I believe he's gained... Has he gained 12 positions? That's
potentially
not
so. And it's a stormy start if he has. I can't remember what the qualifying position is, if I'm entirely honest. But riding on board with Callum Wilson. So he's on the back of the 22 of Scott Mitchell Malm. So, yeah, just you can see going through bomb hole, just the undulation there. If you catch that apex a little bit too hard, you will unsettle the car as you're heavily loaded up anyway. Coming through that turn, it is easy to spit the car off into the outfield. Callum Wilson trying to find her way through. Now, Dan Kell, he's going to be under pressure because Dan Herlock is on the move. Now, Richards, I think, must have made a mistake somewhere, because Matt Richards was in second, I believe, and now is 2 seconds behind Dan Herlock. So the Civic is struggling a little bit. Here's our lead pairing. There is the Vapor Shield Honda, not too far behind, but it does seem to be a gap that is growing as Mitchell Malm is fighting with Tom Mould. That is for 5th position at the moment. It's impossible to point the camera in every single direction, but the battle for the lead is definitely building once again. Dan Herlock on the back of Daniel Kell. Now, Dan Kell would love to add another podium, of course, the top step of it to his score sheet. He's had a pretty good run so far, starting from pole position ahead of that was a little bit of a flirt there from Dan Herlock onto the grass. You do not want to be doing that on a very many occasions. Again, I've been many a sim racing lap there, just going a little bit too wide into Hamilton, and it just spits you onto the infield as if you were heading back towards Palmer the wrong way. But Dan Kell then with the BMW trying to chase down the Calamity Ford as we're over halfway now in our first race here in Snetterton.
Daniel Kell has lost a second and a half, or a second and 8 tenths actually, to be precise, since I last spoke about this gap between the fight for the lead here. So there is something wrong with Daniel Kell's car. He's either got damage or his tyres have just dropped off that significantly, but he's on the medium tyres. So unless he has had like an unfortunate moment which has unfortunately like flat spotted his tyres or just degraded his tyres significantly, I don't know what's gone on there. But Daniel Herlock is either on fire here, which I'm not doubting that he isn't, because he is, I believe, 70 to 80 points ahead of P2 in the championship so far. Daniel Herlock at the RSR BMW 3 Series here now, 1.1 seconds between the two cars. We do see the slipstream does take effect at around the 8/10 mark, so that is going to be quite ideal for him. But for a track like this, it's not going to be that ideal at all, because it's not that big of straights.
It was only really useful in a couple of places, and Jeff Fournier in the third of the RSR BMW, some big slide there. That was Stefan McCready in the number 98 Pixel 8 Esports car. Big slide on there. I think we've seen an awful lot of Stefan. He's not been with us in every race. We've only seen him a couple of times through the course of the season, so good to see that he's back with us again. He's Gianmarco Fiducci lining up an inside manoeuvre coming up into Agostini. Not really challenged too hard. That was Callum Cripps in the Richardson Co BMW. Oh, he's having to go back into Hamilton. No, that's brave to make a move there. Oh, he's gonna. Gianmarco Fiducci gave the necessary racing room and then a little bit more. Stays to the inside line coming through Oggies. Oh my goodness me, blink and you'll miss this one. Who's gonna come out here? Gianmarco Fiducci kept his foot in it and maintains the position. I mean, I was a bit surprised to see a move back there from Callum Cripps. I thought he was conceding the position. I wonder if that may have caught Gianmarco Fiducci by surprise as well. Is the BMW going to have a go here into Brundle? He doesn't go for it. We get down through the gears once again. Catch the apex nicely. Keep the cars nice and steady. Now through Bomb Hole. There's not really going to be any opportunity for Callum to close in. Through the long right-hander of Coram, trying to scrub off speed and come down through the gears while still turning, whilst the car wants to break away. Oh, and you saw how much apex the BMW caught. They're all two wheels coming through Murray's. I've seen cars roll over there by doing that. It's that. Look how much momentum that's cost him. That's unlocked Gianmarco Fiducci to go after the number 28 car of Matty Allington.
This is brilliant racing, as I always say, but this is the fairest battle you're going to see between the two drivers of Cripps and Fiducci, both being on the hard tyres, both in the BMW. The only thing that is separating them both from a practically even battle is their setup preferences. Does seem those BMWs are just naturally oversteery as well, so obviously I'm not too sure what the preference of both drivers are in terms of setups, but obviously Fiducci being a pro sim racer, all of these practically being the fastest sim racers you'll get, will be doing it. But we do Fiducci just going for it and spinning. Unfortunately, I thought he was trying to do a bit of a skill move there. Unfortunately, just spinning it, going into like corner complex, and lost three positions, unfortunately, because of that move, and that is going to be him. Probably not too happy about that at all.
The Tokyo Drift failed in there. He was too deep on the brakes, locked up, and then the tyres are just like, are you having a laugh, sir? And round he went. All that hard work gone. He's now going to have to work his way back past Ben Willis once more in the Drake car. Now running on board with the Italian, the Veloci Esports ace. Oh my, oh my. That is not what you tend to expect, but even the greats make mistakes. As Ben Willis kicking up a bit of dust. You see the slide from Gianmarco Fiducci. He's probably really enjoying doing that. Whether it's the fastest way of doing things is debatable. Is he going to have a look at the inside of Coram? No, that door gets closed in his face. Again, you can do it, but you've got to make the move very, very early, because Coram is a very long right-hander. Oh, goodness me, as you see Ben Willis bounce off the curb. Right behind Fiducci is Sam Dowman in the next of the Vapor Shield Civics. So is the Honda going to get involved? Is he going to have a look on the inside of Ritchie's, at least, as this three-way fight continues for 12th?
It's still kind of baffling me that Fiduci's this low down in the grid, but obviously if he's able to get into the top 12, obviously this is going to apply for race 3, but obviously his race 1 results will affect where he starts for race 2, but that's obviously what we saw in Croft. Race 3, he was able to get pole position just from the reverse grid order, so that was extremely lucky from him. That I assume is going to be practically impossible in terms of odds for that to happen again, but obviously anything is possible in this. But we do see now it is going to be Fiducci actually losing a tiny bit of time there to what we're going to see is going to be one of the Coopers in front of Willis, but for how much more? Obviously now we are going to see Fiduci's tyres probably on fire after the drift moment that he did have earlier now, but we do see he is still reeling in just ever so slightly, but still not going to be enough with only 3 laps left to go.
Indeed, indeed. It's still Carroll from Herlock from Richards, your top 3. As a little bit further back, we've got a side-by-side here. Chris Shepherd losing out to Stefan McCready in the Pixel 8 number 98 car, coming up to Brundle and Nelson. Right behind Chris Shepherd, fellow RSR BMW. That's Jeff Fournier. And those two swap round without too much of a challenge from the 24 car. Up front, that battle is getting very, very fierce. Just barely half a second between the top 2 now. But as always, lots of fighting throughout the field. Chris Shepherd trying to rediscover his momentum. We lost Tom Mould again. We've lost Tom Mould in the course of the race. We didn't see what's happened to him, but again, a very strong contender now finds himself on the sidelines. Great shame for him, as I think it was Mitch Marie that we did see have a big moment. Oh, crikey, we just saw a big collection of cars where Gianmarco Fiducci is. So that is Ben Willis, Fiducci, and then Kowalski and Richardson is in there as well. The number 52, that's Jordan Richardson. Ooh, bit of dust being kicked up there. I think that was Fiducci doing that on the exit of Palmer. Now the Ben Willis defending heavily the inside of Agostini. That's giving the Civic an opportunity to try and look, but no dice there. Door slammed shut. Now coming up towards Hamilton. Just slightly bounced off the curb there up towards Oggies once again. Fiducci trying to get alongside, but Ben Willis has none of it.
This is completely unrelated to this battle, even though I'll actually get back to that in a minute, because this does seem to be Fiducci wanting to try and get past quite quickly here. It does seem he's just going to be desperate, but this is what usually happens in racing towards the end of the races. People will get a ton bit more impatient. People will start making those optimistic moves, which can lead fatally if done wrong, which usually it does, unfortunately. That is what usually happens, but we do see that is going to be this is the battle for the lead actually now. This is just being shaved down to sheer tenths now, and this is going to be Herlock versus Kell as we go down into turn 1 for one of the final times here for race 1, as we do see just all over the rear. We do see one of the blue flag cars getting out of the way nice and quickly, so brilliant to see that. But we do now see Herlock still trying to get past. He's been trying to do this for a while, going through into Montreal. Still not going to be able to get past just yet. It's again one thing to get close to a car, it's another thing to try and overtake them. And in this case, I think Daniel Kell, if he's able to provide the brilliant defending that he has done in recent events, will most likely take the win for this. But I think I've just said that now, haven't I?
Oh, you say the BMW getting so unhappy during the brakes. Goodness me, that car is so loose. But also, there is a potential battle for third, as Matt Richards has been caught by Tom Hackett as well. But all eyes at the moment focus on this battle for the lead. Dan Kell must be staring in his mirrors, trying to keep that ever-present BMW behind. Oh my goodness me, this is where the BMW may well be able to close in. There's, what, half a second between them? I think Dan Kell may well have done what he needs to do. But that was... coming into Brundle and Nelson was where he was going to be most vulnerable. If anything, he extended that gap. Does he keep the Ford under control? He does. The BMW closes in a little bit. It's not going to be enough. So it's now going to be all about the exit of Murray's, assuming he doesn't sail off into the Norfolk countryside somewhere. Not that I would do that. Not ever once. You've got no proof. Into Coram for the final time for this race there. No, the BMW gets very loose. He's Dan Herlock trying so hard to get that gap down. He's got it down to 2/10. It's not going to be enough. Your winner for race number 1 here in Snetterton. They're both synchronized weaving coming over the road. Dan Kell has done it. He's got his first win of the season in the Calamity Motorsport number 89 Ford. Dan Herlock in second with this battle for Gianmarco Fiducci. Big slide for the BMW. Nearly wipes out Ben Willis ahead of him. So Richards comes home in third, Hackett fourth, Wilson in fifth, Mitchell Malm sixth, Nichols seventh, Cena Vire up into eighth, Cameron Brewster ninth, and Tom O'Leary inside the top 10. Gianmarco Fiducci down in 13th. My word, that is not something you tend to see too many times. As the last of our cars coming towards, that's a very big slide from who was it? That was Mitch Marie. That was having a big old moment. Yeah, I'm not really surprised he got off onto the dust. That was a huge sliding moment coming through Corey, probably struggling to slow it down. But what a race to see off tonight's event.
It has been brilliant so far. This is a track that, I'll be honest, I'm not going to say this yet fully because I don't want you saying you're right. So I'm going to say this track is starting to grow on me from a spectator's perspective. But from a racing perspective, I've still got the fully same opinions of it. But brilliant racing from all of the drivers here from the first race. Obviously, still 2 races left to go. Second race will be set underway very shortly, with the race 1 results being their grid positions for race 2, which could be quite interesting because it didn't seem Fiducci gained any positions at all during that race. So he's going to be staying practically in the same place from qualification results, which will make it more interesting. Obviously, for race 2, he is using the soft tyre, so he's going to be rapid off the start, but he will degrade quite quickly there.
So a summary of the race results before Eddie Stewart's intervention. Daniel Cow from Dan Herlock, your top 2. Matt Richards in 3rd, Tom Hackett 4th, Callum Wilson in 5th, Scott Mitchell-Malm 6th, Jack Nichols 7th, Cedar Vire 8th, Cameron Brewster 9th, and Tom O'Leary rounding out the top 10. Callum Cripps in 11th, Ben Willis 12th, Gianmarco Fiducci. Again, well, he would have been inside the top 10 had he not had that big moment and binned a lot of his progress. Finished in 13th, Jacob Korski 14th, Stefan McCready 15th, Jordan Richardson in 16th, Jeff Fournier 17th, Chris Shepard in 18th, Phil Balby 19th, and Matty Allington rounding out the top 20. With Matthew Lee in 21st, Max Spooner 22nd, Alan Smith 23rd, Mitch Murray 24th, Oliver Rogers, beg your pardon, 25th. We did see Bruno Reno briefly. Unfortunately, it was whilst he was being lapped. The only non-finisher, Tom Mould. Such a thing, because he started on the front row. So he's clearly on the pace, but sadly, not yet the consistency.
Oh, it's very unfortunate. The same with Ty Cuthbert as well. Unfortunately, suffered a disconnect on the first few laps. It's just unfortunate to see. This is the downside to sim racing, as you said earlier. But again, it's just stuff that you can never predict. It's the same with real life, though. You probably could speak from experience, Mr. Buxton, in terms of reliability of cars, especially with you doing classic cars. So I'm sure there is a lot more issues going on there.
I get to enjoy the beautiful Norfolk countryside next weekend for the Classic Sports Car Club. Yes, I do. Very much looking forward to that. Snetterton is one of these circuits that it's very testing from a setup perspective, because you do have 2 quite decent length straights, that being the Starfinder straight and the Bentley straight, which is basically the one that we're kind of looking at here, the one at the bottom of the shot, all the way into Bundler and Nelson. But there's so much twisty parts. If you're running the full version, which of course we are, the Snetterton 300 layout, if you're running the Snetterton 200 layout, you actually skip the infield section, which we are staring straight at now, from the Wilson hairpin, which was formerly called Montreal. So the Wilson hairpin, you basically then cut across to the Bentley straight if you're using the 200 version. So you cut out Palmer, Agostini, Hamilton, and Oggies. If you do that, that changes the whole feel of the circuit. It becomes much more of a speed orientated circuit rather than because you cut out quite a significant number of corners. I've seen some quite interesting detonations and moments. I remember along the Bentley straight, a caterer decided it didn't want engine oil anymore and basically just dropped the oil sump out of the bottom of the engine. It led to a very scary spinning moment. There's a fair amount of grass, as you can see on the right hand side. I've seen various things, but there's several that come to mind. I've seen a diff snap coming through bomb hole for a Lotus 26R. I've seen a low cost decide that it wanted to try and integrate itself with another caterer, Agostini, at a fair amount of pace. So lots can happen. Lots can definitely happen.
It's really fascinating, to be fair, in terms of how much stuff you've seen as a real life motorsport commentator. and how you can actually incorporate it into these kind of events, because it's so relevant as well, because obviously we're at the tracks in Sim that you're fortunate enough to go do next week as well. I have just been reading the TCUK lounge, and I want to make a formal apology to Mr. Fiducci as well. I think I've been a bit of a mess in terms of the lounge earlier, but I do want to just say sorry to Fiducci, because I do think I have just early commentated cursed him before the stream starts. So sorry, Fiducci.
Oh, your commentator curse is strong in the youngster today.
It's not my intention.
Not my fault, he says. You said it. It's funny you say.
You're welcome, everyone else. Everyone else could be welcome, actually.
It's funny what you say actually about a track being like good for spectating, but not so good for driving on. There are several circuits I am very much of a similar, either that way round or the other way round. Yeah, prefer to either spectate rather than drive, or other way round. I'm not particularly good at racing at Snetterton from a sim racing perspective. Also, one of the problems of commentating at Snetterton, actually, we're on a great camera shot here. The green building on the left-hand side is the secondary commentary position. Now, that only gets used if you've got like some kind of TV coverage, because you cannot see a thing from in there. Now, the main commentary position is almost dead center right now. Is that white building? Sorry, the green building next to it is the main commentary position. The biggest problem you've got when you're trying to look out the back of the commentary box is a wacky great big tree right there. So you actually get obscured from a lot of the infield. I complain about it every single time, and it's still there. But hey ho, we live with what we've got. So what are we waiting for now, ladies and gentlemen? We are waiting for the grid to be formed for race number 2. It isn't the work of a moment to do that. So the grid for race 2 is formed from the race results of the race we've just seen. So it'll be Dan Kell again starting at the front, but this time you'll have Dan Herlock alongside him, and we'll have Matt Richards right behind. See how well they can start. Dan Kell had an absolutely cracking start and really did benefit from those that were fighting behind. So those that maybe didn't have such a strong run in the first race will then have an opportunity to try and make their way through the field. Can Gianmarco Fiducci get a little bit further towards the sharper end where we're used to seeing him? Can Tom Mould actually get to the... it sounds really disingenuous. Can he actually make it to the flag? This field is very, very, very competitive. Whether you're in the front or the back, it's still highly competitive. So again, no disrespect, men. It's just unfortunate that he seems to have the pace, but not yet the consistency to capitalize on it.
It's really unfortunate, because he has so much potential to win races and get podiums and potentially do really well in this championship. But just unfortunate issues that he has been running into pretty much every race now is just becoming... again, more and more frequent for him, which is obviously not what you want to happen, because it always provides good racing when more competitive people are in the field. And I really do hope he gets a good result for race 2 and 3, because generally with the luck he has had recently, he deserves some very, very good outcomes very soon.
Absolutely so. And I'm a bit of a fan of an underdog. I love seeing those that have maybe struggled suddenly, have their moment in the sun. Or take Bruno Reno. We hasn't always been in point scoring positions all season. Finished third in the third race last time out at Croft. So yeah, there's a prime example. I'm an absolute sucker for an underdog story. So we'll see who can really come out on top. Now, tyre allocations, again, a little bit more of an even distribution this time. It was very, a lot of people ran their hard tyres in the first race. It's a little bit more evenly distributed this time. I think it's about 9 or so of the soft tyres being used. Probably about 7 or 8 mediums, and the rest of the field in hards. So the hard tyres are barely featured in our third race of the night. So most people getting this kind of harder rubber dealt with before the final race of the night. So here we go. The grid is now formed. It is Dan Kell from Dan Herlock on that front row. Matt Richards and Tom Hackett will be on row 2. And Wilson and Mitchell Malm on row 3. Nichols and Cito Vaya, row 4. Cameron Brewster and Tom O'Leary round out the top 10. Is Callan Cripps and Ben Willis on row 6, with Gianmarco Fiducci and Jacob Kowalski on row 7. Stefan McCready in 15th with Jordan Richardson, number 52 car, joining him on row 8. Jeff Fournier and Chris Shepherd will have row 9 with Phil Bormy and Matt Allington rounding out the 10th row. You now see the field working their way through. Lee and Spooner on row 11, Smith and Miss Marie on row 12, with Oliver Rogers and Bruno Reno on row 13, Tom Mould and Ty Cuthbert starting right at the back of the field. So a lot of work for them to do. Now, Alex.
Yeah. Go on. Sorry.
So you're doing the rolling lap. You're Dan Kell. What's going through your mind?
All right, I need to be really careful what I say here, because I had a really good answer, but I also realised it's probably a bit rude, so I'm not going to say that. So you can see I'm trying to filter myself now, which isn't great. But if I was in Dan Kell's position, first of all, it is brilliant to see, as you would say earlier, an underdog situation, because from the start of the series, he wasn't this good. Again, I'm trying to phrase this.
Well, no, you are absolutely right. I mean, Dan Kell was quick, but not quite not regular podium contention. He scored 2 podiums before tonight, both of them in race 2, one at Silverstone and one in Donington. But he missed Thruxton and Oulton Parks. Has really damaged his kind of championship contention. But again, was really strong in Croft, couldn't quite convert it to a podium, and we've just seen him fend off, Dan Herlock, the current champion and championship leader, into keeping hold of the win.
It is brilliant. It's good to see. I do root for Dan. There is a few drivers I do root for, one being Ty Cuthbert, a bit biased for that, obviously, but it's just good to see some of these cars doing well that you weren't seeing doing so well at the start of the series. Herlock, you do expect to do well. Fiducci, you do expect to do well, because they have been so consistent in their podiums and wins that you just kind of expect them to win. It's kind of like a Max Verstappen story last year. So I was trying to make an F1 reference, but not try to be too controversial.
No, but it's fair point well made. You do have that expectation on those that regularly are towards the front, and therefore that when you see those that are good but not quite there, or for whatever reason the results haven't come through for them, don't necessarily expect them to put up a performance that we saw from Dan Kell earlier tonight. But the grid is formed for race number 2 here in Snetterton, and we are away once again. A good start from the Ford as Dan Herlock then slots in right behind. Richards in the Civic is following the tyre tracks of the 2 ahead. Lots of side-by-side going on slightly further down. Oh, blimey, that was the Ford of Mitchell Malm getting really, really squeaky already. Coming through the first turn, now through the Wilson hairpin for the first time. And again, Dan Kell, great corner racing. Look at the gaggle of cars behind. Now, bearing in mind that a lot of people are running much softer rubber, a lot more people are running softer rubber this time than we saw in race number 1. So this really has the potential to mix up the field. Are we looking at 3 wide coming down to Agostini? It's not very wide there, gentlemen. I wouldn't do it. And they do just about manage to sort themselves out. Still side-by-sides going on. Oh, and Stefan McCready getting very, very squiggly in the Pixelate car. Still on the inside line through Hamilton, manages to keep at bay Richardson in the Civic. Oh, it's still now 3 wide coming down into Woggies. Tries to give the Civic a bit of a punch in the face. Too late for that defence. That's Richardson up a position.
Brilliant start so far for some of these cars. We haven't seen any instance just yet, which I was expecting to see after that 3 wide going into Agostini. But luckily, everyone's starting to make it a bit more consistent in terms of not crashing. But we do see now Stefan McCready currently in P16, just braking, trying to get past Matt Richardson as quickly as he can. That Honda again, one of the cars that has started redeeming itself recently, as we can see P3 being a Honda as well. So that Honda is starting to become a bit more in terms of one of the more powerful cars now after that bop was implemented. But there's going to be a crash there. There's going to be two of the cars, unfortunately. There's going to be one of the Calamity cars, unfortunately, going off as well as one of the Cupras there going off into what I believe is going into Nelson Brundle.
Good. In fact, I think it was Bruno Reino was the victim there. Dan Kell is checking out up front. Matt Richards is going to try and have a go at Dan Hurlock. Does get the move done to the Civic. Gets really squiggly coming through Ritchie's, but does manage to hold on. Then you've got Hackett in the in the Hyundai behind it. Gives Dan Hurlock a bit of a tap, but the pace was too slow to spin him out, so he's gotten away with that one a little bit. Goodness me. Now, bearing in mind, Dan Hurlock's on the hard tyres, so he's going to struggle to maintain the pace around him. Dan Kell is on the soft tyres. He is absolutely gone. So he's maximising his tyre advantage. They seem to hang on okay in the first race. Now checking up with Ben Willis right behind him. Oh my goodness, that's Mitchell Malm, who's just had a spin or made a mistake of some description that's dropped him outside of the top 10. Alongside Callum Chris, Jean-Marc Fiducci now up in 9th position. Oh my goodness me, several cars off at Hamilton. That's a very commonplace for cars to go for a bit of a wander, as Callum Cripps is fending off the advances there of Jacob Kowalski. The Vapor Shield Civic can't hold on, remains where he is in 13.
Brilliant to see. We do see another side-by-side up the road there. I believe that is going to be Willis there, Ben Willis and Nicholas there, two of them going down into the final few corner shoots. We do see he's going to try break a time, but later it's all about who will break the latest, who will have the better advantage in terms of getting the inside line throughout the next corner and actually trying to get that position done. But it does seem though Ben Willis has been able to settle it going up into P9 there. We do see there's still going to be an immense amount of retaliation here from the forward behind of Nicholas, as we do see the amount they battle is going to also damage them, because you do see that's going to be unfortunately going to be a pit maneuver there. That's going to be one of the Richardson co-cars as well as one of the Fords that I believe that might be Malm, unfortunately going off there, and that seems to have caused quite a few more cars to go off there unfortunately as well, going on to lap 3 here. So luckily everyone seems to have recovered nicely. Unfortunately some losing more positions than others, as we do now see Callum Cripps just trying to leg it a tiny bit, trying to get closer and closer to P10, which is going to be Hurlock there. Hurlock's lost quite a few positions.
Remember,
he's stopped on the side of the road.
Is
that?
Surely not. Dan Hurlock.
Yeah, it's Hurlock.
Wow, championship leader has stopped. That's got to be some kind of technical failure. Is he a VR runner, or has he had a screen freeze or something like that? He is now moving, but unless he's had a wheel disconnect or something like that. But oh my, Dan Hurlock now dropped right the way to the back. We now focus on Tom O'Leary on the back of Gianmarco Fiducci. Well, Dan Hurlock was always going to be in for a rough time. This is his hard tyre race. Tom O'Leary, though, in the Richardson Co BMW, what is he running? Not 100% certain. Whoops, Gianmarco Fiducci almost into the cameraman. No, Fiducci is on the soft tyres, and with how well Tom O'Leary's gluing himself to the back of the Veloci Ace, I would think that he too is on the softs. I'll find his name in the list. I've forgotten what car number Tom O'Leary is. But they are also keeping pace with Cameron Brewster for Drake right ahead of them. This group here, this is second down to 7th, are not very far apart at all. Dan Cal over 4 seconds up front now, but that's Matt Richards that leads this train.
I'm not sure what's happening here with obviously Fiducci being on those soft tyres is going to boost his performance quite a bit, as he's up to P6 now. Last time I checked he was in P9, so that's put my theory out the window completely.
Wow.
But we do, yeah, I'm just as surprised as you. P6 already. This does show you the word veloce does just mean fast, so that is starting to pay off here, as we do see there's going to be a tiny bit of a lunge there from Thomas O'Leary behind in the other BMW, which is going to be the Richardson Co car. But it does seem Fiducci is just purely concentrated on trying to get P5 here from Brewster in that Cupra, but still has quite a big gap to try dig while still trying to preserve his tyres for the rest of this race.
That's Matt Richards under pressure. Vicedo via the Brabham Esports Toyota So Cedo's having a really good run this time around. Again, Cedo's had a couple of podiums in the course of the season, but his results have been a little bit inconsistent. But now is potentially challenging for second place against Matt Richards. Why I went wow earlier was the fact that Matt Richards slammed the apex really, really hard, coming through the earlier corners. Well, actually up towards Wilson, I think it was. And it looked like he was about to roll over. Look at Fiducci, though. He's almost been pushed by the Robertson Co. BMW right behind of Tom O'Leary. So how is this going to filter down? The BMW has a look at the inside of Brundle. You're not really going to make a move at that late. But they are almost pushing Cameron Brewster as well. Coming through Nelson. The picture-in-picture is on board with Tom O'Leary. It was my vote for a race win last time out. That vote didn't work whatsoever. So not doing that one again. But Tom O'Leary then really hustling hard to try and improve his position. Also bearing in mind that Matt Richards in the lead of this particular train is on hard tyres. So he's doing a superb job in the Civic to keep everyone else behind.
He is an absolute task on his hand there, but luckily he has the better tyres from a duration point here. As we do see there, that is going to be one of the cars behind him, which is going to be Thomas O'Leary just getting really, really close to the back of Fiducci in the BMW. As we do go back on into Montreal here, do see it's nearly going to go 3 wide here. Fiducci just looking for a move going on to Hackett there, as we also do see it's going to be Cooper there of what is going to be Ben Willis trying to get past one of the Richards Co BMWs. He does do it successfully, so he's going to be up a position there, which is not going to be very good for Thomas O'Leary at all, but they still go side by side here, so there's still a bit of retaliation here. It's side by side from both of them as well. Fiducci trying to get the inside line going in to the Brundle and Nelson chicane here, as it does seem there's going to be a tiny bit of contact between all three of them, but luckily everyone survives unharmed. As we do now see, it is going to be just again all about who gets the better corner exit, who gets the better high speed going through into the straight here. As we can see, it might be here going to be Thomas O'Leary, as he's all over the back of Hackett once again as he's trying to retaliate to get his position back.
Tom O'Leary hanging the tail of the BMW out to dry. Coming through, Hamilton gets alongside Hackett. I don't know that the Hyundai is going to have any answer to that. And then it's the two dregs behind of Brewster and Willis. And knows no answer from Tom O'Leary on this occasion. Tries to cut underneath Hackett, but again, just can't get the traction where he needs it. As the X-Cars entry doing his great, doing a good job there, but leaves the door open enough into Coram for the BMW to slip through, and just manages to close it in time to prevent the two drag entries of Cameron Brewster and Ben Willis. Oh, but that's wide for that is Brewster and Hackett gone wide on the exit of Murray's. Now it is Cal from Richards from Fiducci now into the top three. Cedar Vias just dropped outside of the podium spots for now, but we still have half the race to go.
It's, again, so unpredictable, this championship. Anything can happen in such a short period of time. As we do see there, that is going to be Fiducci under pressure while putting pressure on what is going to be. Where is Fiducci on the leaderboard? Oh, he's already in P3. Well, how's that happened? Richards in front of him in the Honda. This is going to be 4 P2. Obviously, we do see Fiducci is on those soft tyres, so we will start feeling the degrade in the next lap or so as he goes side by side here with Richards. This is not going to be a great corner to go side by side here going into Agostini, sorry, as we do see he gets a tiny bit loose there going through onto the exit of Agostini, as it does seem it's still going to be Richards in the lead of this battle, but that we do see now it's just everyone getting a tiny bit of aggressive here, but we do see again Richards still being able to defend the inside line here, but who will get the better exit? It is going to be Fiducci, but he goes on the grass, will minimize his speed out, but it's going to be again side by side at 2 ways here, so we can't see, unfortunately, there for what is going to be Wyatt just unfortunately losing the position to Thomas O'Leary, but it's again going to go side by side. This is going to be a drag down into the chicane, but we will see who comes out victorious for this. But we do see Fiducci will have the inside line. There's going to be a tiny bit of dog bang in between the two, but luckily they all survive. But we do see that's going to be 2 wheels there for the Richards Co BMW as he goes side by side going in to one of the final corners here, and it's still going to be happening.
How on earth did we not have a massive pile up then? That was unreal. Matt Richards knew he was wrong-footed. He was really, really loose. Coming through Cora, just about manages to keep it pointing in the right way. Fiducci was somewhat determined, shall we say. It was a valiant defensive effort there from Matt Richards, but he's now falling down through the field. Again, bearing in mind, Matt Richards has a big tyre deficit to those around him. Cedar Vire having a go at Tom O'Leary, just spotted at the bottom of the shot. Look how many people there are in this group. This is superb. So Fiducci now up into second, but has not broken free yet of Tom O'Leary. Cedar Vire still not letting go of a potential podium.
It's still so unpredictable. I said it last time, but again, it's just so true. Daniel Kell, who has been able, can we just appreciate the 7.1 second gap between P1 and P2 here. Fiducci might be able to close it down a tiny bit, but I don't think he will be able to get that down fully there. But we do see the Richards & Co. BMW of what's going to be Callum Cripps going for the inside line, making that move done absolutely easily and executed that with ease there. But will we see some sort of retaliation here from Tom Hackett in that X-Car Esports Hyundai? No, we won't. It does seem already Cripps is starting to be able to create a ton of breathing space for himself as he actually approaches now, going on to Brewster and Richards ahead.
Oh my goodness, again, so very close for the Richards to go BMW. He's really hustling hard. So that is Callum Cripps on the back of Callum Brewster. They're sizing up and moves on Matt Richards. The Vapor Shield Civic looks like he's a little bit out to sea at the moment. The BMW and the, oh goodness me, the Cooper get alongside. Can Callum Cripps do anything about it? He's got the inside line for Bombhole, does manage to get the move, well, I was going to say pushes Brewster wide, but doesn't really now. Hackett's coming through, that's Matt Richards. I wonder if he's conceding the positions. He's realising he's not going to be able to fight, or he just went in too deep into Coram. Hackett's a little bit out of position there, but trying to make moves coming through Coram is always a very difficult manoeuvre. So Cripps from Richards, from Hackett, from Brewster, and also Nichols not far behind in the next Ford, is this group from 5th downwards.
I'm kind of just in a tiny bit of shock of what's happened here. Again, Fiducci being able to pull up into P2 already, and already shaving up a second from Daniel Kell's existing time of 7.1 since we last saw. Callum Cripps now again leading this pack, as you were just mentioning. Again, starting to be able to create a tiny bit of a distance for himself. Do you see, looking at the tyre allocation grid, I believe Cripps is on the medium tyres, so he is going to start feeling a tiny bit of the wear soon. But we do see now Brewster under a tiny bit of pressure as well from Nicholas behind in that Ford. Again, not going to be able to get close enough, braking just a bit later there, which we're going to see from Nicholas, but still not going to be able to get by. But we do see Shepherd has actually been able to catch up one of the cars we haven't seen too much here today.
So it would seem, but this group just will not. Well, I was going to say it won't disperse. It does, because somebody gets through it, gets off into the distance, and somebody then catches the back. As now we've got Jeff Fournier. No, beg your pardon, there's Chris Shepherd that's caught the back of it. With Jeff Fournier is actually not far behind in the next pair of RSR BMWs. So right behind Cameron Brewster. I think I've been calling him Callum Brewster all night. Beg your pardon there, Cameron. So Cameron Brewster in the 9th place Cupra, with Nichols being hustled hard by Chris Shepherd. Chris Shepherd's actually got the run. Or has he? Can't quite see on that camera angle. There he is. Oh no, that is exit stage left for Nichols as Fournier has gone through. That is going to be that's going to be into the wall. It is so difficult to recover any kind of momentum the right way. If you get onto the grass, you're going at quite a rate of knots at that point. But Jack Nichols rejoins, but down in 12th.
That was not expected, to say the least. But we do now see Fiducci now 4.6 seconds between him and Kell. But we do see another contender here, Thomas O'Leary, and that Richard Co. Racing BMW, who has been on fire during today's race so far. Same with Fiducci, obviously, but Fiducci's tyres have probably seen their expiration date now, as we will start seeing Thomas O'Leary probably being able to overtake him in the next lap or so. Fiducci just not going to be able to have that grip or any sort of that performance that he would have had originally at the start of this race. You see it's now just down to 3.5 tenths, between the two of these cars. As we do see now going through some of the final corners here, just digging up so much dirt there. And again, in R-Factor 2, that's not something you really want to be doing too much, because that will send you flying, and it is quite difficult to recover getting off the grass.
Very bumpy as well, no matter where you go. Big slide for both of them. They're almost following each other, move for move, slide for slide at every corner they're going through. Absolutely brilliant racing from both Gianmarco Fiducci and Tom O'Leary. Dan Kell, he's being caught by the pair of the BMWs. Is that because the Ford is just backing off a bit? Doesn't need to push. Oops, Cito Vaya getting a little bit uncomfortable. Coming through Nelson in the lead Toyota. The BMWs, there's no questioning. They are pushing like mad. They are gaining on Dan Kell at quite a rate of knots. Quick enough to challenge for the lead. Either Dan Kell's burnt the best out of his tyres, or he's just backing off a bit as Chris Shepherd looks like he's conceding position to teammate Jeff Fournier. So the RSR BMW swapping the last of the top 10 positions. Oh no, that looks like Matt Richards has gone a bad exit or comparatively bad exit from Murray's. That's going to drop him another few positions. Through goes Hackett. Through goes Brewster. They're still side by side coming on towards Ritchie's. Oh, they're going to have to sort this out. The Civic gets a little bit close to the back of the Drake Racing entry. Oh, wow. Went for the move on the inside. And look at Jeff Fournier. He's got two, but he's going to lose at least one of them. He's trying to push Hackett through. No, he does actually maintain both of the overtakes. What a move from Jeff Fournier.
That was absolutely ecstatic being able to do the double overtake there, but we do see now he's still looking to try and get Hackett here in that Hyundai, and he's all over the rear there, as we can see, just trying to block him off there, Hackett, but he is going to get that inside line going in to Agostini, which is going to be a corner, which is crucial to have that inside line, as we can see, for example, Brewster unfortunately losing that position to the RSR BMW ahead of him, of Shepherd, but we do see that's going to be Fournier going quite wide, going in to what is going to be Hamilton, but still being able to stick it, and he is actually going to get past Hackett there, but will we see retaliation here from the Hyundai driver behind? But we do see the more they retaliate between each other trying to get this position back, we will start seeing Brewster as well as Richards behind catching up pretty quickly.
Very much indeed. Brewster now at the back of this particular group. Tom Hackett still gluing himself to the RSR BMWs. I'm still actually just recovering from that move from Jeff Fournier. That was absolutely brilliant. Whether it was intended or not, he was in the perfect place at the right time to just capitalise on that group fighting through Riches, and then it basically dragged Chris Shepherd with it. So the two RSR BMWs really capitalising on all the fighting around them. Their next victim is Ben Willis in the next of the Drake Racing Cupras. I'm looking at the gap up top. We've got 2 laps to go. It's less than 2 seconds between Fiducci and Kell.
The ultimate lap is going to be the one that decides if Fiducci might have a chance of actually being able to take the lead of this race here. Could Daniel Kell make it 2 for 2 here for tonight, or will Fiducci get his first win of the day? We'll have to find out. We do also see Thomas O'Leary, who could throw a spanner in the works here between Fiducci and Kell, but again, Fiducci wants to try and get closer to P1, but again, Thomas O'Leary wants to try and get past Fiducci for P2 there, so that is going to be one thing take into consideration, and seeing how big the gap is between 2 and 3 is starting to concern me for Fiducci's sake, and I'm pretty sure Fiducci will have his eyes in the mirrors probably more than he does on the road ahead.
Well, Tom O'Leary's just made a mistake coming through Williams onto the Bentley straight. That's given Gianmarco Fiducci nearly a second's worth of breathing space. The last person you ever want to give an opportunity to is Gianmarco Fiducci. He is not going to squander that as he's just come out of Brundle through Bumhole. Once again, it is equidistant now between the 3. So Dan Kell, he's definitely going to be pushing more as we see Cameron Brewster. Good move on to up into 9th position from Tom Hackett. Up into Brundle, so the Drake Racing Cupra up into 9th position. There is Matt Richards. He must be feeling very deflated at this point. Here we go, final lap of the race. Dan Kell would have wanted the checker flag to fall there, but it's Cal from Fiducci, from Tom O'Leary, your top 3.
Now, what's interesting once again is Fiducci for race 3 has picked to use the medium tyres, which is going to be that balance of durability but also performance. So we do see he's all over the rear now, 3 tenths between P1 and P2, but because of that reverse grid effect that we will see in place for race 3, which can be from, I believe it's 6 to 12 positions, will mean Fiducci, if he takes P2 or even P1 at this rate, as he goes side by side here, going in to Agostini, he will have that outside line, which isn't going to be too good for him, but he will have the better exit, it seems. In terms of speed, it's still going to be side by side. It's going to be a drag race here. He will have the higher top speed going in to Hamilton. It does see the inside line. It is going to be quite lucky there for the Ford, as we do see it's still going to be side by side, but no, we're going to see, unfortunately, Fiducci losing it, but we also see now another competitor, as we do see now Thomas and Leary all over the rear of Fiducci, and the other BMW is going to be practically down to the final corner to see who will be crowned victory for race 2 here, as we do see the slipstream is going to be quite a big help here going down into one of the final corners of race 2 here, as we do go through into the braking zone. It's going to be Oulton who breaks the latest here, but we will see still Dan Kell being able to just defend at full capacity here. We will see again Fiducci still trying to go side by side. He goes for the inside line going into the final corner, as we do see he's not going to be able to just yet. And unfortunately, that's still going to be for Dan Kelt. Well, for Fiduci's sake, he might actually lose his position of Tom O'Leary as well.
Oh, they got a little bit scrappy between the BMW as Tom O'Leary hangs on to it, but it's going to be a 2-for-2 win for Dan Kell just by the skin of his teeth. Goodness me, Dan Kell takes his second win of the night. Gianmarco Fiduci, a brilliant drive up into second. Ben Willis has got a lot of pressure behind from Jeff Fournier and Chris Shepard. Who's going to win out on this drag race? It's going to be Drake Racing to take 6th position. Cedar Vire comes home in 4th and Callum Cripps in 5th. Barely saw them for a while. There's Callum Wilson that's going to have a go. Is he? It's he's defending, beg your pardon, from Lee in the Hyundai. Just about holds on to 13th position. Oh my goodness me, absolutely superb stuff. Dan Kell must be grinning his head off. Oh, what a fiery exit. Well, I mean, now's as good a time as any to put on a show, I suppose, of fiery sorts. But Daniel Hurlock, what on earth happened? We saw him pull down to the side of the road and lose so much time. So he's going to start right at the back of the field, whether he likes it or not. Well, if he wants to give himself a challenge, he certainly got one. I mean, okay, he had a healthy championship lead coming into this round, but it's not insurmountable. And that is the last thing he ought to be doing, is giving away that many points.
I'm still kind of confused on what the fire was. I'm starting to think if the new regulations was jet fuel. But I'm confused on how he did that, unless he just downshifted too many times, because I'm not sure if there's a rev limiter on these cars, which is again another vulnerable point for these cars, which is quite easy to blow up the engines, I would assume, if there isn't a rev limiter. But going on to race 3, we will see the results very shortly of race 2, as we do see here Daniel Kell pole position, followed then by Fiduci in P2, Thomas O'Leary in P3, Wyatt in P4, followed then by Campbell and Cripps in the Richard Co Racing, followed then by Ben Willis taking P6, Jeffrey Fournier P7, brilliant drive from him, Chris Shepard P8, Cameron Brewster from P9, and then Tom Hackett rounding out the top 10 there. All 5 rows there as we go on to the next grid. As we do see now, it's going to be Matt Richards in P11, Jack Nicholas P12, Callum Wilson P13, Matthew Lee P14, Alan Smith P15, Mal going to be P16, as well as Jordan Richardson P17, Ty Cuthbert P18, so good job from him there. Max Spooner in P19, and Oliver Rogers taking P20 here. Now, unfortunately, quite a few people did DNF, so we do see quite a few DNF shares. We do see it's going to be Rainho P21, Daniel Hurlock, unfortunately, P22, which will provide him a challenge for race 3 there, followed then by McCready, Mold, Kowalowski, Mary, Allington, and Morby, all not being able to finish the race due to technical reasons or other issues.
Wow. That's absolutely brilliant. Now, production, do we have has the random grid element been decided yet? Not yet. We have been told. So we have got to wait for the decision to be made. So it is a randomly picked number between 6 and 12. And whichever number is chosen, that is how many of the top grid is being reversed. So if number 8 is picked, it's the top 8 that gets reversed. If it's 12 that gets picked, the top 12 gets reversed, so on and so forth. So we have to wait for production to do do the business. So the minimum it can be is 6, the highest can be is 12. So if you're 13th, you're starting 13th. Everyone from 13th downwards starts in the position in which they finished. So this is where it gets a bit of jeopardy here. You can't really kind of play the numbers game. If you have a bad run or if you're trying to aim for a particular position, no good to you. There's no guarantee that's going to serve you at all. But it has really generated some fantastic racing and given us some different podiums as well. Yeah, Matt Allington had the reverse grid, reverse race podium. He came third in Oulton Park. We saw Bruno Reno, as mentioned, come home third in the third race at Croft. Who else was Jordan Richardson? Although he's very quick, but has been a little bit inconsistent. He has seen the podium several times. He was third at Donington. He was second. Matt Richards was second. Then the win went to Mitch Marie. A stunning showdown at Donington Park. So it can give us some real opportunity for others that maybe have struggled in the course of the night to really show what they're capable of or prove how good at defending they are.
I guarantee some drivers do not like the reverse grid effect for obvious reasons. It's quite difficult. That's interesting. So you can't hear what production just said. So I completely forgot about that. So the top 11 cars are going to be reversed. So if we could get these standings back on, that would be brilliant production, so we can actually see who will be taking pole position here for tonight, as we will see that very shortly. So 11 cars, that is an odd number, which could be a bit difficult. So Tom Hackett being able to take P2 then for the for the final race of tonight. Hackett has been consistent in the past. He is able to provide good racing, but Matt Richards will be taking pole position here for race 3.
Now, the Hondas don't seem to have been too favoured this time around. But again, is that down to tyres? Is that down to luck? We will have to see. Most of the softer compounds are being run in this race. Only 4, I think it is, are running the hard compound tyre, which is Sam Dowman, Scott Mitchell-Melm, Tom O'Leary, and Dan Kell. So Dan Kell going to be starting in 11th position. I don't think he's going to be doing the treble header, but he's done a brilliant effort to take 2 wins for tonight. I suspect we are going to see somebody else on the front row, on the top step of the podium, but who? That is going to be the big question. So who's running soft tyres this time? Dan Herlock, Cito Via, Matt Richards, Jacob Kowalski, Phil Morby, Jack Nichols, Matty Allington, Oliver Rogers, Cameron Brewster, Jordan Richardson, Max Spooner, Callum Cripps, Tom Mould, and Jeff Fournier. So any name I haven't mentioned in those last 2 lists are running the medium tyre, and we really did see the hards, particularly in the previous race, really struggle against the softer compounds, particularly early on, which sounds like an obvious statement to make. Yes, granted, but we haven't always seen a huge tire delta between the 3 compounds, but the hards really struggle here in Snetterton.
It does seem so, but obviously you would expect a track like this, the tire usage would be higher. But just seeing, obviously, on the first lap, I think it was, Daniel Herlock had a tech failure, had almost a half connection, had steering and throttle, but no buttons, and was stuck in 3rd gear. So you were practically correct. It was a disconnect, unfortunately, for Daniel Herlock. Luckily, he's able to kind of spare himself, though, because he has a 70-point gap in the championship, may I add. So he isn't playing with fire like we would see with Fiducci recently, who hasn't been able to show most events, obviously. He has a life as well. So it's just Fiducci's looking rather skeptical now with the championship, in my opinion, mainly because he hasn't obviously turned up to all rounds. Not every driver has either, but he hasn't been able to perform like he has done in the first section of this championship. So unless that is just down to maybe incompetence of the track, obviously some tracks like Croft, for example, I'll be honest, I didn't even know the layout of the track before the broadcast started. So it was definitely a challenge for me personally, just to try and identify the corners. So I don't know what the drivers were thinking with that track, and it's just such a narrow track as well, Crofts.
It's a real tricky one. It's probably the one I know the least in our calendar. It's one I haven't been to in real life, very much in the north of England. So, yeah, I haven't. That's one place I haven't been to just yet. Hope to one day. Hope to continue my trackside commentary career and be everywhere and make as much of a nuisance as I possibly can. Yeah, but saying that, I mean, Gianmarco Fiducci took 2 wins out of 3 last time at Croft. It's kind of, and has proven again tonight why he is one of the best. Race 1 very much didn't go his way on the harder tyres. Again, if the harder tyres are struggling, most people were running their harder tyres in the first race though, so not necessarily a true indicator. But then in the race we've just seen, he was on the soft tyres, so then was able to just roar his way through the field, but did have Tom O'Leary breathing down his exhaust pipe the whole race long. So he's going to be on medium tyres. I'd say there's more medium, slightly more medium runners than softs this time around, but those on hards I think are just going to absolutely plummet this time around, judging on what we've seen those so far. But I wait to be proven wrong. The reverse grid race has always given us some very, very interesting moments. A lot of great racing. We do, you do increase the likelihood of there being incidents because, of course, you are starting cars that are proven to be quicker throughout the course of the night behind those that haven't quite shown that same pace. As we say every time, I love a reverse grid race. Also, from a driver's perspective. I was never really a fan. I won a race or two in my sim racing lifetime, meager that it is. But I've always been a fan of reverse grid races, or even random grid races. I think they're brilliant fun.
Is that because you start at the front of the grid?
Yes.
At least you're honest. I would have said no.
I no bones about it. There is a very good reason why I go for this seat and not the driver's seat.
Yeah, that's the same with me. I used to do a lot of sim racing. I've still got. God, I don't even want to know how much I've spent on that rig. I think I'll cry looking at the add up total. I don't use it as much as I used to. I'd like to be able to race more on it. I really do want to try race Ty Cuthbert as well. I know he's in chat as well. Good to see you, Ty, as well as Mike as well. Shout out to both of you. So I would like to race him again. Well, again, just race him to see the pace difference from an actual good kart driver versus a wash sim racer commentator to see the difference.
Funnily enough, I actually set the wheel up again this week for the first time in almost a year. I actually did some sim racing last night. I have my younger son to thank for that because he actually wanted to give it a try on last weekend when I had my kids here, and that's just kind of gave me the excuse to give it a go. And yeah, I'm still hopeless, but but yeah, it's one of these things that is pretty much impossible to describe to people that don't get it, and you don't have to explain it to people that do. The adrenaline, the love of competition, close racing, respect to those you're driving around, whatever it is. Yeah, love all of it. So then the field start to make their way through the final warm-up lap of the night. So it is Matt Richards from Tom Hackett on your front row, then Cameron Brewster and Chris Shepherd on row 2. Jeff Fournier and Ben Willis will have row 3. Callum Cripps and Cido Vaya will have row 4. Tom O'Leary and Gianmarco Fiducci will round out the top 10. Then Dan Kell and Jack Nichols will have row 6. Well, I said row 10 a minute ago, didn't I? Yeah, 10th position, row 5 for O'Leary and Fiducci. Row 6 for Callum Nichols. Row 7 for Wilson and Lee. Row 8 for Smith and Mitchell Malm. Row 7 for Jordan Richardson and Ty Cuthbert. Row 8 is Max Spooner and Oliver Richard. Did it again. Rogers. It's been a long day. Matt Donington is in the pits. It's, according to the tower, we have lost one of our drivers. We did start with 28 on the grid. It's been one of the biggest grids we've seen all season. Bruno Reyna and Dan Herlock. Dan, when do you see Dan Herlock in 22nd? Very, very rare indeed. Stefan McCready and Jacob Kowalski will take the next round. Matt Donington, if he is starting, will join Phil Morby at the back end of the field. Wow. So you're 2 races down. Your reverse grid has put you in a potentially out of position with faster cars behind you. I'll ask you this question again, Alex. Well, yeah, put you on the spot again. So, well, actually, no, I'll answer this one because you answered my last question. Because I'm usually the one that is put at the front of it.
Yeah, I was about to say that.
Let's make it fair. Because I'm usually the one that is a kind of midfield at best. If on a reverse grid, if I'm put towards the front, you've got faster cars behind you. You know realistically who you're in a fight with, whether it's a championship or just pace comparison. You know who your actual battles are with. Sometimes you may choose to let people go. You don't have to, though. You are perfectly entitled to fight. Your racing instinct will want to, but sooner or later you kind of think, no, you are that much quicker than me. There's no point in me continuing to fight you. Thank you, production. That's Tom Mould that has dropped out, having not finished, unfortunately, 5 of the races we've seen him in thus far. So that's what's kind of running through my mind of try and keep it clean, have a good race as you can, but realistically know who you might want to let through, and rather than losing time and fight.
That's a pretty decent way of saying it, to be fair. I don't think I would have phrased it any better. But we are on to the final race of the night. It's usually the most interesting race. We've both agreed on this, something we have agreed on together. But as we get ready to go green here for the final time for tonight, we do see Richards, as you just said, taking pole position, followed by Hackett in the Hyundai, Brewster in P3 as we wait for the horn to go to sequel the starting formations. We do see now we are green here as we do see Richards gets a brilliant start. There's Hackett as well, being able to go single file straight away, which is always ideal for these cars. As we see 4 wide there, that's going to be 2 of the Richards and Co cars, as well as Wire going 3 wide, and then another car who I wasn't able to identify as quickly there, but Ben Willis in P5 here for how long. But we do see Fiducci as well trying to put pressure on the car already, as we do see him going up into P9 already. It's a brilliant start there from Fiducci. Hopefully it can stay like that. Cuthbert up into P20 there as he approaches onto the leaderboard, as we also see now Tom Hackett just trying to play it safe here. He does have, obviously, we can see Brewster behind. He's in P2. For how long, though, is the question, as we do see Fiducci now under pressure from what is going to be Dan Kell behind 2 of the people who have the most points from today, I believe. Is, well, Dan Kell winning 2 of the 3 races here tonight, seeing if he can make it 3 of 3, make it a hat-trick potentially. Might be a bit more difficult. He's in P10, but obviously anything can happen. As we do see 2 cars going off very wide there into Hamilton, luckily being able to recover it back onto the track there, but Fiducci up into P9 so far.
Jack Nichols and Tom O'Leary getting side by side, coming through Oggies, but towards the sharper end. Matt Richards has got himself a 1.3 second lead over Tom Hackett, who in turn is fending off the advances of Cameron Brewster as they come up towards Brundle and Nelson for the first time in anger in this race. The Civic 1.5 seconds ahead of his pursuers at the moment, capitalizing on his soft tires, but again, most people running either soft or mediums in this race. It doesn't have as much of a tire advantage. Oh, look at this. Dan Herlock trying to make his way through. He's got a hell of a scrap right ahead of him. That is not what he was. He's already up to 17th. Is Dan Herlock, so he's managed to make up quite a few positions already. Oh no, that's not what he wants. So he tangles with one of the quarter mile cars. The tail has just completely let go. He's going to rejoin the circuit, but now even further, about all that progress he's made has absolutely disappeared.
So you commentated cursed someone this time, but we do see that Matthew Lee going for the outside line, going back into turn 1 to try and gain P14 here. Not going to be able to make it do just yet. It's going to be Melm ahead of him. A car we've seen quite a bit here today, as we do see it's going to be a tiny bit of door rubbing there. Callum Cripps in P5 in the Richard Co car, then followed by Ben Willis. We can see Wire as well trying to take it, but we do see the RSR BMW of Jeffrey Fournier trying to go side by side with Wire as we go out of what is going to be now into the straight. Is Wire still not going to be able to get past him going in to Rigorti? I forgot if I've nailed that, but we do see Wire still not being able to get past him just yet. Just again, the RSR car of Jeffrey Fournier just being able to glue it to every line possible just to make it, again, just as difficult as possible for Wire to get past.
Pat Richards is checking out up front as Cameron Brewster for Drake Racing up into second position in the Cupra, as we are seeing Jeff Fournier sliding his way through Williams. He is on the back of Ben Willis then, next to the Drake Racing entries. So that was a big incident just at the top of the shot there, coming through Williams. A couple of cars gone off sideways, it looked like, into the dust, and right behind it was Gianmarco Fiducci was under challenge. Matt Lee is back into the pits. That's very unfortunate for him. Dan Hurlock is trying to make up positions again. He's gone alongside one of the Calamity cars. That's Mitch Marie. He's gone alongside. There's banging going on right ahead, and Dan Hurlock's off the road again. So again, he's making a position and he's losing too. It's just not his night. I mean, everybody has just one of those nights where just nothing works, and this has been Dan Hurlock. Probably, he's had occasional races where things haven't gone his way. Croft wasn't brilliant by standards as Mitch Marie detonate some of the bollards. Lots of door rubbing between the BMW and the Ford. So Dan Hurlock's just determined to mitigate the damage to his points haul for the night, as he now gets into the slipstream of those ahead. We're looking at Jack Nichols, who's down into sixth position. Jeff Fournier just ahead. Gianmarco Fiducci has made a position on Ben Willis, the Veloci ace, up into eighth position now. So can the RSR BMW chase off after the pair ahead of him, which is Chris Shepherd and Callum Cripps? We will see as Cripps, the Richardson Co BMW, gets ahead of the RSR BMW up into Agostini.
Jack Nicholas now in kind of a vulnerable position. He has Fiducci behind. He has an RSR of Jeffrey Fournier ahead. He just wants to try and keep it clean. If I was him, obviously, it's again his own opinion and he will do whatever he wants with it. I would probably get out of the way of Fiducci, because I reckon I would lose more time if I was behind a car who is constantly attacking at 100%, like Fiducci, for example. But we do see, again, he's actually still being able to maintain a gap between him and Fiducci. However, we do see now Wire all over the back trying to get into the top 10. He's in 10th right now. He wants to get into 9th as he goes side by side here with Ben Willis. He gets the inside line, which is going to be crucial for him here. He breaks later as well. He gets all of the ideal situations here, as we do see gets the move done pretty effortlessly now. Ben Willis going down into P10, Wire going into P9.
And so the battling continues. We're barely a quarter of the way through the race, as that's Yellows in sector 3 somewhere, possibly Phil Morby falling through the field. That's Richards from Brewster, from Hackey, your top 3. We're looking at Cito Vaya down into 9th position now, as he has got Ben Willis on his case. His long train of cars hasn't dissipated too much. It is formed up behind Jeff Fournier, who is chasing off after his teammate, who was in battle with Callum Cripps earlier on. That duo seems to have separated a little bit. We are continuing to watch Cito Vaya staring at the back of Gianmarco Fiducci, who again loves that very loose setup. Side by side, Stefan McCready having to go into Richie's. That's a very, very wide. That's Max Spooner that was going very deep, trying to avoid contact. Still side by side as they come through Wilson. But that is the Pixelate Infinity that goes up into 18th position ahead of the Quartermaster car. So Stefan McCready has got that Infinity up one more position.
Spooner's starting to show potential here into the race 3. Qualification didn't go his well. If I remember, he was 5 seconds off the leader's time, unfortunately. But he is starting to make up for it, currently in P19 there, the Quartermaster car of Spooner. We do see he is still trying to retaliate with McCready, as you can see on the timing boards. But Callum Wilson here in P11, still trying to get past Ben Willis here, as he has been for about a lap or so. As we can see, Ben Willis has not had much of a break during this race so far just yet. It does usually get a tiny bit more difficult here as your tyres becomes more and more degraded here. So we will see Callum Wilson going for the inside line into the exact same place he got overtook last time, Ben Willis, as he makes it pretty effortlessly for Callum Wilson to get by. So I'm starting to think it might be a bit of a strategic approach here from Ben Willis to let the cars go by just so he has a better tyre advantage at the end of the race here. As we do see now Mitch Marie in P22 trying to get past Dan Herlock, whereas Dan Herlock just got by the RSR, where the calamity car of Mitch Marie, I'm assuming, is probably the second way, as the gap has increased quite significantly now. As we can see now Herlock just trying to grab as many positions as he can before the end of the race, as we can see him just going on to the grass for a second. It definitely hasn't been his day so far, Dan Herlock.
No, indeed. As we look at Dan Kell again, bear in mind he's one of the few on the harder tyres. It's not surprising he's not been able to keep up with the pace of those around him. As right ahead of him, ahead of Dan Kell, that is Ben Willis and Scott Mitchell-Malm that are arguing for 11th position at the moment, with Willis just ahead of them. So this group, Wilson is leading this group. That's all for 10th position. This particular conga line, the one we were looking at earlier that Chris Shepherd was leading, Jeff Fournier was leading. Actually, they've caught and overtaken Chris Shepherd. Chris Shepherd now down into 6th position, as Jeff Fournier is absolutely flying. So we're just kind of seeing the back of that group. So this conga line could get very, very, very long. As we look now to Jeff Fournier, who is trying to hustle the back of Jack Nichols. But Nichols was behind Gianmarco Fiducci last we saw. As Jack Nichols is having a look at Chris Shepherd. So Chris Shepherd is falling a bit. So despite early pace from the RSI BMW, oh wow, that was a bit of a punch in the face there from the Ford. The BMW is wrong-footed. That's Gianmarco Fiducci that gets the inside line into bomb hole. There's not a lot the RSI BMW can do there. He can hang on to that position for now, but through the long right-hander of Corumcido, Via trying to sneak through as well. The picture-in-picture is on board with the Brabham Toyota. Cedar Via can't quite draw alongside, as Chris Shepherd was able to shut the door just in time.
Seabing Richards in P1 so far is starting to show promising signs of potentially winning this race here for tonight. 3.2 seconds between P1 and P2, Brewster and P2. So he's currently having quite an ideal race, but now I've said that, it has gone down 5/10, so I might have just said something bad there, unfortunately. But hopefully that isn't the case yet. But we do see Fiducci now trying to attack what is going to be Nicholas for P6 here. Brilliant recovery so far from Mr. Fiducci after the reverse grid effect on him here. The RSL car, Chris Shepherd, now under a lot of pressure here from wire behind in that Toyota Brabham Esports car, getting the slipstream, getting the higher speed, getting a better exit here as they go side by side here into the chicane. No, this is going to be into Agostini, sorry, as we do see now Wire getting inside line and gets the move done here. And we do see Chris Shepherd still vulnerable, as we do see Wilson behind in the Richard & Co BMW. Quite big rivals there between the RSR and the Richard & Co cars. So we will have to see how this plays out towards the end of the race as we hit the halfway mark of the race.
Indeed we do. As here is Tom Hackett then on the back of, I think, he's actually, no, beg your pardon, that's Callum Cripps that is right behind the X-Car Esports Hyundai. The Richards & Co BMW trying to break into the podium spots. And see what he's able to do. There's Cameron Brewster, now free of challenge. A couple of seconds breathing space given to the Drake Racing entry. So where's Cameron? Has Cameron seen the podium? No. If Cameron is able to stay in that position, that'll be the first podium he's scored all season. So he's very, very keen on hanging on to that position. Matt Richards long gone up the road. This would be his, if he's able to convert this one, this would be his third win, having won races 1 and 2 at Oulton Park. It was by far his best race. Took 2 wins and a second at Oulton about a month ago. So 4 weeks ago was when we were at the Cheshire circuit. As Callum Wilson then is all over the back of Chris Shepherd for 9th position. The two BMWs dueling once more.
Brilliant to see here as we do see now the Richard & Co of Callum Wilson still just eagerly trying to get past what is going to be the RSR car of Mr. Shepherd here. It's still starting to be quite unpredictable here. It does seem the RSR car still has a tiny bit of pace and is able to extend the gap in certain sectors where he is going to be preferred. But I did see, I'm not sure if I'm going crazy, but I saw another car stopped on the side of the road going into Montreal. Am I wrong there, Mr. Production? No, that is a car off. Who's that?
It could be a couple of cars that have already struggled, but we will catch up with who that is potentially later on as we continue to see Jordan Richardson on the back of Dan Cal. This is for 15th. Well, the Civic is in 15th position, challenging the Ford for 14th position. Dan Cal staying to that defensive posture on the inside line, heading up towards Brundle. Can he get anything done? The Civic. Oh, he's gone for the move. That's very late. Coming up into Brundle. Dan Cal saw him coming, gave the necessary racing room, and holds onto the pace. Well driven from both cars.
Brilliant to see that. Very, very optimistic to say the least, but luckily no fatalities happened during that. So do you see, again, Richards still being able to pull away. It's still a 3-second gap between Mr. Richards and Mr. Brewster there, as we do now see the Richardson's car, the Honda, the Vapor Shield, currently going on to the start-finish straight, trying to put a tiny bit of pressure on the car ahead of him. But we do see Fiducci struggling once again here, wire all over the rear of him going into Montreal here. This is going to be a corner which is brilliant for overtaking if you are able to have that inside line and the better exit. So we do see Fiducci took it a tiny bit wide there, so again we're going to see Wire getting just a tiny bit going into the next corner here. So Fiducci's tires could be a tiny bit boosted, or he is just currently under quite a big pressure point, which you could probably argue is probably the point as we go into Agostini once again, as we do see again a move happening there, as we do see Shepard losing the position to Callum Wilson there. So I'm assuming there might be team orders. Actually, no, they're in different teams, aren't they? Callum Wilson being in the RSI car and Shepard in the RSI car and Wilson in the Richard Co car. So that has just happened in the previous corners. Wilson, who has been brewing to get past Mr. Shepard for quite a while, was able to get by.
Richardson Co and RSR crossing swords, who'd have thought? As Jordan Richardson gets the inside line on Dan Cal coming up through Williams. Again, Dan Cal, this one's just going to have to be painfully accepted. He knows he's on the harder tyre. He knows most people around him are on softer rubber. Nothing he can do about it. Just try his best to mitigate the points lost for this round. But that's the thing, you don't know how other people are going to have their tyre allocations. Nobody does until they are published, unless the drivers discuss it amongst themselves, which odds are they probably don't, as Dan Kell has gone too deep and the exit of bomb hole just about manages to get the car back on terra firma. By the time he gets into Coram, he's got Oliver Richards, his own teammate, fending off the advances of Dan Hurlock, who's back up into 17th position, and the RSI BMW Championship leader trying his best to mitigate what has been a pretty miserable night by his standards.
Yeah, I'm also starting to think now the car that I was practically going crazy with stopped going into this straight right here. I believe was unfortunately Ty Cuff, but as he has now unfortunately retired from the the third race and the final race of tonight, as we do see that's going to be a Ford going practically vertical there, going on two wheels. Like, you're not a motorbike, sir.
That's what I said, though. These curbs are vicious at Snetterton, and these cars are so stiffly sprung that you catch them too hard and you will nearly roll it over. As we see Scott Mitchell-Malmlin on the back of Chris Shepard. He's trying to get the Kings Racing Ford up into the top 10. Let's see what he's able to do. Gets very, very close to the back of the BMW once again. Not able to do anything into Oggies. They are coming through Williams onto the Bentley straight. We're 3/4 of the race done. We just have 3 laps to go.
It's still looking very close here, as we do see getting the slipstream on the RSI car of Shepard as he gets the inside line here going in to Brundle and Nelson here. Again, a very difficult chicane, but still possible to overtake, as we do see the RSI car still being able to preserve his position for the time being. He goes for the inside line though, going into one of the final corners of Bomb Hole, but still not going to be able to get past just yet. The RSI car doing a brilliant job of defending so far, starting to create a tiny bit of breathing space between the two cars now. It's just 6/10 between them both.
Unbelievable stuff, and they're not showing any sign of relenting whatsoever. Gianmarco Fiducci up into 7th now. Still has Cito Vaya on his case. They are closing in on Jack Nichols ahead. So the 3 of them are now locked in a three-way fight for 6th place. What can happen here? Ford versus BMW versus Toyota. Not far behind them is Callum Wilson and the Richardson BMW. Cito Vaya has been glued to the back of the Italian all race long. Can he do anything about it? Time will tell. To come out of Wilson towards Richie's once again. Now, who's got the better brakes? We're going to tell as we come up into Agostini. How well can Jack Nicholls defend? He's still got quite a few laps to defend against some very, very fast machinery behind.
This is just so good to watch. Two of the best sim racers in sim racing going head on head with each other, and two of probably the most prestigious teams in sim racing as well. Brabham Esports against Veloce is going to provide brilliant racing always. Well, Malm now in P10, looking to try and escape a tiny bit as we do go back on board now with Jeffrey Fournier in P4 in the RSL BMW, who's practically had no break from Hackett here behind in the X car. Hyundai there, a brilliant looking car, may I add. I do like the colour scheme on both cars there, as we do see now going into the chicane once again, the challenging chicane of Brundle and Nelson here, as we do see go back on board with Fiducci here, as he's actually starting to create some bit of gap to White here, but he's still putting pressure here on what is going to be Nicholas, who's again quite surprised me going into the second race here, as we do see it's all over the rear here. This might be the end of Nicholas's time in P6 here, as we do see going into Bomb Hole and going into Coram for one of the final times of tonight, as we do approach onto one of the penultimate laps, well, the penultimate lap soon, as we do see Veloce car here. Fiducci is going to have the slipstream, but Wyatt has been able to catch up quite a significant amount here, so this could be Veloce under a tiny bit of pressure here. Fiducci is going to lose that position now. Wire again, just Fiducci unfortunately just getting a tiny bit impatient, trying to get past Nicholas, and just lost that position.
It was a great slipstream from Cito Vaya. I think he also had a very good exit from Murray's, but immediately goes to the defensive posture, coming up into Wilson once again, nudges the back of Jack Nicholls in the Ford. That's actually allowing Wilson in the Richardson Co BMW to close in on them as well. So this could become a four-way conga line before too long. They've only got 2 laps, or 1.5 if you're picky, to sort it out. There's the next couple of cars. They are slowly closing into them, but not quick enough to be able to challenge before the checkered flag falls. Cito Vaya trying to make his way past Jack Nicholls. Can't quite do it on the exit of Agostini. So tucked up right behind the Ford. The Toyota is itching to get past. You're not going to make an outside maneuver into Woggies. That's never going to work. But now Gianmarco Fiducci has got his mirrors full of the Richardson Co BMW behind.
Fiducci just wanting to get this position back. He is going to be desperate to get past Wire once again, because obviously going further up into the grid, the points do get more and more significant here, and this is exactly what he needs for the championship. Again, we have seen Dan Herlog not having the race he wanted, well, races, shall I say, that he has wanted, which is going to leave his championship standings a tiny bit more vulnerable than it was before the start of this round here. Fiducci just wanting to try and claim as many points as he can to try and decrease that gap going into the final few races of this calendar, which I'm quite shocked to say.
Yeah, that's what we say, isn't it? The third race always generates some interesting results, but I think all 3 races have generated some very different results to what we normally see. But final lap of tonight. So Cito Vaya itching to get past Jack Nicholls. Jack Nicholls goes to the racing lines to come up to Richie's once again. On the brake, the tail gets loose as the undulation unloads the back. Oh, that's a good exit from the Toyota. He's going to draw alongside up into Wilson, but he's going to be forced to the outside line. Gianmarco Fiducci saw this coming and tries to nail the pair of them, but can't quite do it. He gets Cito Vaya, almost got Jack Nicholls. Cito Vaya tries to bounce on the inside of Palmer. Oh my goodness, not often you see a move there. Was not happy about how that transpired. Now they're trying to get around Jack Nicholls. Cito Vaya's boxed in behind the Ford. Here comes Callum Wilson in the BMW. My goodness me, this is happening quicker than I can say. There's impact between Gianmarco Fiducci and Jack Nicholls. Cito Vaya can't get through, but after all that, Gianmarco Fiducci up into 6th.
Brilliant racing. What's happened there? White is just being flunked. I believe that might actually be a bug in RF2, unfortunately, that has caused netcode. Obviously, it's just a very, very common thing in sim racing, which is very unfortunate there for Wire. Again, Fiducci's probably running away with a tiny bit of a smirk on his face here, going up into P6 here. So brilliant racing there from him. Unfortunately, Wire just being flung there. That is a sim racing issue in R Factor 2, as we do see Matt Richards here coming across into Bombhole and Karam for the final time of tonight, I believe, as we will see him hopefully being crowned victory for the third race, his first victory here of tonight. But we do see Brewster behind him just starting to gain, but it's not going to be enough. Matt Richards being able to be crowned victory here for race 3 here on the reverse grid, followed then by Brewster taking P2 and Callum Cripps taking P3 there. Jeffrey Fournier P4, Hackett in P5. Fiducci, brilliant drive there of redemption arcs to say the least, going on to the final lap, taking P6 there, as well as we can see Nicholas taking P7, Wilson P8, Malm taking P9, Chris Shepherd taking P10, Thomas and Leary P11, Willis P12, Herlock P13, Wire unfortunately in P14. Luckily was still able to recover the car. Rogers in P16, followed then by Dan Kell in P17. Brilliant 2 races from him, not his favourite racer for race 3. Mitch Murray P18, Rinho P19 and Smith P20.
Max Spooner, the last card across the line for Quartermass to round out tonight's festivities. Wow. Oh my goodness me. That was a superb night's racing. Absolutely amazing. Once again, the VMO TCR Championship providing some incredible action, and at Norfolk's finest and wonderful Snetterton. It's a shame that the round is concluded, but all good things must come to an end. We're just waiting for the confirmation. There it is. Before Stewart's intervention, Matt Richards takes the win, Cameron Brewster second, Callum Cripps third, Jeffrey Fournier fourth, Tom Hackett in fifth, Gianmarco Fiducci in sixth, Jack Nichols seventh, Callum Wilson eighth, Scott Mitchell-Malman ninth, and Chris Shepherd for RSR rounding out the top 10, with Tom O'Leary 11th, Ben Willis 12th, Dan Herlock in 13th, Cedar Via 14th, Jordan Richardson in 15th, Oliver Rogers in 16th, Dan Kell 17th, Mitch Murray 18th, Calamity 16, 17, 18. At least they're finishing line astern almost. Bruno Reno in 19th. Alan Smith for Craven in 20th. Max Spooner, the last car to see the flag, in 21st. We lost in that race. Jacob Kowalski, Phil Morby, Ty Cuthbert, Stephen McCready, and Matthew Lee. Oh, Struth alive. That has been a brilliant night's racing, and that is going to conclude festivities for tonight. Thank you very much to those that have been with us, either live or post-event. A great pleasure to have you along for the ride. Thank you very much, Alex Newman, for joining me in the commentary box. A brilliant night's racing, and thoroughly enjoyed sharing the box with you, as always, good sir.
It's always a pleasure to work alongside you as well. Again, VMO, TCUK. If you haven't watched any rounds, go watch them back. Support the channel as well by subscribing and liking to this channel, because I believe it's just past 200 subscribers. It should have like 10,000 at this rate by this race.
Absolutely so. Absolutely so. Thank you very much to our drivers for putting on a wonderful show for us. And also thank you very much, Tom Bryant, for being in charge of production and giving us the incredible camera actions. We'll be back in 2 weeks' time for round number 8, as we are heading towards the conclusion of the season. With the action we've seen all season long, you definitely do not want to miss it. Until next time, thank you very much, and good night!